All right, I think we're live. Push one in the chat if you can hear me. All right, got a confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 820, Black Economic Talk. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. Also, there's a link in the chat for you to join. It's a Zoom link. Make sure you update your Zoom link before joining. There's a doc in the description beneath the video, in the description for you to follow along with and reference. Let me get started. Let me know you can see my screen. We can get started. Shout out to the folks who came in. Push one in the chat if you can see the screen. All right. Got a confirmation. Thank you for that confirmation. We were supposed to do this live stream a week or so ago. And so I'm just now posting this. I probably should have posted it last week or maybe even a month or so ago, but the National Black Chamber of Commerce is having their 123rd National Black Business Conference this week in Atlanta. And so based on Booker T. Washington, you know that the Black Brain Trust, with courtesy of the contributions of Rael, have talked about Booker T. Washington extensively. He has a series on here. If you look in the archive, going back a few months ago, Rael has done an excellent job at breaking down Booker T. Washington from a historic standpoint. This conference is branded after him. Let me just scroll through it real quick. I know today is the last day of it, but it's really good to actually cover it. Keynote speaker, everybody knows Benjamin Crump. Let me let complex in. Yep, Benjamin Crump is down there. Quite a few folks are down there. And you know, they even talking about Pan-African diaspora, opening ceremony, Black business panels, Pan-African diaspora luncheon, 30th anniversary, Booker T's on the last day, or day 3 for that matter. Another Black business roundup, buyer, supplier, matchmaker, and exposition, Black business workshops, Booker T. Washington Black Business Award, black tie event. So it sounds like they had a lot of time down there. The mayor of Atlanta, Andre Dickens, is down there as well. Looks like they put up a pretty dope event. They're talking about blockchain. They're talking about digital technologies as well, fintech. So it sounds like it was a dope event. I really wanted to go, but I just didn't have the flexibility. So I just want to make sure that, you know, we're keeping everybody abreast on what, on kind of the events that's happening.
Man, I'm gonna be there next year, bro. And I appreciate you for circling back and pulling this up, you know, in light of the work that Rayo's been putting in, because this conference right here is literally a culmination of everything that he was covering, or Rayo covered in that series on Booker T. And I noticed that when you were kind of reading through the itinerary, there was something about a buyer seller, or what was it, a supplier buyer something? Yeah. Where see
Exposition,
that,
yep.
yeah. See, that's major. That's major, dude. That's where you get industry plugs doing stuff like that, like real industry plugs. Yes, that's major.
Yeah, buyer, supplier, matchmaker, and exposition. So, Black business workshops, Black tie event, gala. You know, they're doing some dope stuff down there. A lot of people think that folks are sitting around, you know, waiting for, you know, politicians to come meet them, and ebbs and flows of the market and inflation. Nah, man, folks are taking matters into their own hands. They're really getting down with it. I'm actually a member of the National Black Chamber of Commerce, and so that's how I got it in my email. But I forgot to post it. I know we were supposed to kind of do some Black business talks a week or so ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, and so I kind of missed out on it. But I had known about this some months ago, maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, but I forgot to even post it. But it dawned on me when they sent me an update, and so I said, you know, let's really get into this. And so, yeah, this is what's going on right now. So I just want to cover this real quick, just really highlight some of the happenings that's going on. If you're in the Atlanta area, I hope you pulled up down there and really engage folks, because this is the sort of tangible talk that we try to get into.
Absolutely.
All right. Let me get into the next item on the docket. Start locally here, man. Oh, that's interesting. All right, let me know when you can see my screen. I'm some trouble with my mouse.
Okay, it says your screen sharing now.
Yeah, just let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, this is from people.com. Jaylen Brown hoping to develop Black Wall Street in Boston after signing nearly $300 million extension. Okay. Zoom in on this. On the heels of signing his massive new contract, NBA star Jaylen Brown says he's hoping to use his platform to spread the wealth. At a press conference on Wednesday, after the guard signed a NBA record five-year deal, a $303.7 million Supermax contract extension with the Boston Celtics, Brown reportedly said that his aim is to use the generational wealth for good. Quote, I want to launch a project to bring Black Wall Street here in Boston, Brown, 26, said, according to CNN and ESPN. Quote, I want to attack the wealth disparity here. I think there's analytics that supports the stimulating the wealth gap could actually be something that could be better meant for the entire economy. He added, quote, with the biggest financial deal in NBA history, it makes sense to talk about one-year investment in community. But the wealth disparity here that nobody wants to talk about is top 5 in the US and is something that we can all improve upon. It's unsettling. According to the outlets, Brown said he hopes that his version of a Black Wall Street would create new jobs, new resources, new businesses, new ideas for the Northeast US corridor. What the hell is this? Much like the original Black Wall Street did in the early 20th century for affluent Black residents in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Quote, Boston could be a fully integrated, self-sufficient hub, he said. I think Boston could be the pilot, not just for the wealth disparity here in the US, but also for around the world. It's not the first time that the two-time NBA All-Star has opened up about helping the Black community. In 2020, Brown spoke to people about his participation in an initiative sponsored by Dove Men Care called Commit with fellow NBA players Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell, Aaron Gordon, and Danny Green on the project. As an extension of for their work to raise awareness around systematic racism following the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, the initiative aimed to change the stereotypes often associated with Black men. Quote, how Black men are looked at and represented in culture is important. Brown told people at the time, to try to change some of those narratives in media is a great effort. He added, it's important to get more positive roles in movies and television and things like that, and create a demand for people to see that, so they can see Black men and women in a positive light. He continues, those roles were far and few between, and while I think there's more now than before, you wouldn't see a lot of African-American movies or TV shows that were successful. There just weren't positive narrative stories for African-Americans. Jaylen Brown, what are your takes on that, Complex?
This is major. This is major, bro. You know, to kind of be on the record, right? When number one, for intentionally signing a contract like this, but the reasoning for doing it is literally, it's literally for the right reasons. You know what I mean? Because you know, look, he knows basketball ain't gonna last forever, right? See, so what mark do you really leave on the world at, you know, when it's all said and done? I mean, you know, basketball in his mind, based on what he's saying, is literally just a stepping stone to something greater, dog. And like when you start talking, I want to build a Black Wall Street in Boston, like, yo, that's legit intent right there, dude. He's intentional about this money.
So for some people who don't understand, we have something called Nubian Square. Nubian Square is what would be the equivalent of a Black Wall Street. It's a business district, but it's also a commercial and residential business district that sits in the most populous, predominantly Black area. I think it's 55, 56, maybe 65% Black. And so they rebranded it Nubian because the original name was Dudley Square. Dudley was a slave owner and did not like Black people for obvious reasons, the racist. And so they changed the name a few years ago, before the pandemic, to Nubian Square, because Nubia is the birthplace for Blackness in regards to Black people. And so Nubia was to Egypt what Black people are to the United States. It still exists over there in Africa, but they're referencing, you know, the grounding, right? So they're centering the idea of Blackness around the name from a rebranding standpoint. And that's what Jaylen Brown is really referring to. So when he's not saying that it should be the next Black Wall Street, he's saying that it should be an economic center for business for Black people to actually thrive. That's all he's saying. And he's been, you know, quiet as kept. He doesn't get a lot of credit, but he's really been in the streets like that. He really actually goes on the ground. And so he's really out there. You know, he's at MIT, he's at Harvard, he's in the hood. He's really out there like that. And so when people, you know, some people say that, you know, celebrities and stuff don't really come through. Jaylen Brown's one of those cats who really comes through and puts his money where his mouth is. Not just him, but a lot of the Celtics and a lot of the Patriots players, a lot of your Red Sox players like Pedro. He got a lot of barbershops. He got a lot of family down here. He keeps them on their feet. Big Poppy, he comes through, you know.
Ortiz?
He has a lot
David
of
Ortiz?
investments here. Yeah.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
Yep. Yeah,
You know,
they all be coming through.
you know
So
what's interesting,
they
dude,
have their
also?
ideas. Yeah.
You know what's interesting also, dude? I think if you scroll down, there was that paragraph where they mentioned a project that he was a part of with Aaron Gordon, Chris Paul, and Donovan Mitchell.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
All right. So I know another
Yeah.
project that Aaron Gordon is
Danny
a
Green.
part of is him, Blake Griffin, and like one or two other cats bought up a shit ton of farmland. Did you hear about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So these
Yeah.
cats is really getting it in, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, folks are really putting in work. You just don't know it unless you're actually following them and really engaging in this stuff. And that's why we try to bring this stuff to the
But
Black Brain
see,
Trust so that
they
people are
not gonna.
informed and
But
not,
the media
led
is not
astray.
going. But the media is not going to see like this shit flies under the radar, right? This type of shit we talking about. I
Yeah.
bet cats didn't even know about that farmland purchase that they did, right? But see, if it's some old BS, oh, it's all on the algorithm, fam.
Jaylen
You
Brown
know
has some investments in tech as well.
hmm
Yeah, he's doing a lot of hustling out there, man. He's really getting, grinding and stuff, man. So
two other players, uh, Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston. They put money into tech, dude, when they was playing
mhm.
for Golden State back in like was that 2014, 15, 16 around there. Andre Iguodala
Mhm.
is literally a what is it? When you is like a level investor. B, he's class A or class B. He's got his investment portfolio is
Mhm.
up there in tech, bro. Real shit. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, because he was in Oakland. So not Oakland. Well, he's in Oakland, but when he played for the
Yeah,
Golden
Golden
State
State.
Warriors, but he's
Mhm.
around those VCs out there. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, he was
dude,
around those VCs.
remember, it's the Oracle Cats. Ellison, they own the Golden State Warriors. Their their employers, dude, are in tech. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what's going down. Shout out to Jaylen Brown. He's really been instrumental in
Yeah.
building a
Salute.
lot of projects out here. A lot of people don't know. All right, next item on the docket. Let me know you can see the screen.
Hey, Mike, real quick, can we just address one comment?
Okay.
Business Talk with Kay, he says everyone wants to use Black Wall Street or Tulsa, but it doesn't work out. Huh. I mean, I'm thinking fourth industrial here though. So I think the rules are different, the opportunities are different. I think everything is different. So I'm not sure why it is that like an economic or a business block or something like that can't be founded. I don't know why.
I think folks get caught up in the nomenclature of Black Wall Street as a term to be utilized or a blueprint to be utilized, but it's really just a metaphor, right? You're looking for a Black economic center, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that's really when people outside of Tulsa talk like that, they're utilizing that description just as a metaphor, not necessarily to replicate exactly what happened in Tulsa at the time.
Exactly.
And so I don't get hung up on I don't get hung up on the nomenclature too much. I just focus on what the agenda is and how you're going to actually go about doing it. All right, this is from TechCrunch.com. The civil rights movement comes to venture capital. The Fearless Fund lawsuit highlights what the lack of funding to Black founders has always been, a civil rights issue. All right, let me just zoom in on this. Actually, just give me 1 second.
While Mike steps away, I just want to say welcome everyone. If you guys haven't, please hit the like button, and if you care to share it or you want to join in on the discussion, we have the link posted. So yeah, we'd love to have some more input on some of the articles we're covering.
For the last year and a half, there is only one point I've sought to make with my venture coverage, that the industry is not separate from social-political context, that the tech industry and its backers are not separate from the economic fabric of this nation and the mores of our society. This became evident when the American Alliance for Equal Rights, AAER, announced last week that it was suing Fearless Fund. The AAER was launched by Edward Bloom, the man who helped overturn affirmative action, alleging that its race-conscious policies discriminated against Asian Americans. AAER is accusing Fearless Fund of racially discriminating against white and Asian Americans because it awards a $20,000 grant only to Black women-owned small businesses. But as anyone with knowledge of who the venture community backs today knows, Black women raise about 0.4% of all venture capital funds in any given year, and grant programs like what Fearless built were created to fill that funding gap. How venture capital is allocated to Black founders has always been a civil rights issue, just one river feeding the ocean of persistent economic segregation. Earlier this year, 3 white men filed to sue the Minority Business Development Agency, MBDA, and the funding given to it by the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act. The suit alleges that how the funds were allocated was racially discriminatory and violated the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause because the MBDA offers programs only for those from socially or economically disadvantaged backgrounds, which presumably does not include white Americans. The lawsuit resulted in a preliminary injunction against the MBDA's business centers for unconstitutional racial discrimination. More recently, a federal court in Tennessee filed an injunction against the Small Business Administration's business development program after ruling that the SBA should stop taking race and ethnicity into account when it comes to contracting decisions. Quote, there's clearly a pattern here in recent months of courts and politically motivated plaintiffs going after public agencies like the MBDA and the SBA and private organizations like Fearless Fund. John Deary, the founder and president of the Center for American Entrepreneurship, told me that's very worrying. Ed Zimmerman, a startup investing lawyer, pointed out the significance of AAER not going after diversity initiatives from more prominent institutions like Goldman Sachs launch with GS or the Anderson Horowitz cultural funds. What AAER didn't do was take on the well-funded, heavily lawyered organizations that the resources and person power to fight back, Zimmerman told me. Fearless Fund legal team isn't too shabby though. It hired a team of heavy-hitting civil rights lawyers, including Benjamin Crump, best known for representing families of George Floyd. So here's what we're dealing with here. When Black people need to raise capital, you see who's trying to stop this, okay? This is what we're up against. And so the question is, what are Black men gonna do about this? Because Black women are doing something, but what are Black men doing? What are your thoughts, Complex?
Oh, shit, so much. Because I think the question that you just asked is most pertinent, right? Like, what are we doing? See, my first thought is always going to go to business, right? And industry, right? Because you got to have something to solicit venture capital for, right? And then there's the venture capital markets and where they're looking to put money. See, so I think the first thing that needs to be addressed is we need to start actively putting ourselves in positions and in situations where venture capital is something that we can solicit, like by literally having startups and shit like that. You know what I mean? So when you ask the question, well, what are Black men going to do? That's my first thought. What say you?
No, this is long overdue. We knew that this was coming, right? We knew that the affirmative action decision by the Supreme Court was going to lead to something like this, and a lot of folks were sitting on the sidelines in this space pretending that, oh, well, you know, it doesn't matter because we wasn't benefiting. Well, guess what? They're going after the venture capital now. You're getting less than 1%, and they're trying to attack that too. So they're trying to take you completely out of the game. But you're pretending as if voting doesn't matter. The reason why you're able to have an affirmative action decision by the Supreme Court is because those 3 judges that created the supermajority were appointed by the previous administration. But folks don't want to actually acknowledge this because they think that voting doesn't have any consequences, or that staying home, you know, doesn't have any consequences, or that writing in, you know, certain candidates like Kanye West on the ballot doesn't have any consequences. That has consequences. You would not have these 3 Supreme Court justices creating a supermajority to go after affirmative action and go after these sort of cases like this, these sort of injunctions, without somebody at the top appointing them, okay? This is very important. It's going to get rocky over the next 5 to 10 years. Right now, it's less than 1%. In the next 10 years, it could be absolutely nothing. You're not going to get anything. They're making sure they're taking all the crumbs off the table for you. If less than 1% was crumbs, you will get nothing after that. You get sleep for dinner, okay? That's what we're talking about here. And there's a lot of cats in this space who won't take this seriously enough. And they think that because Black women, the venture capital firm for Black women was being under attack, they think that this is separate from them. No, they're coming after you too. Once they're done with Black women, they're coming after you too. They will not spare you. You will not be separated from all of this. You will not be, your constitutional rights won't be preserved by these folks. They're coming after you too. And so that's why you see guys like Jaylen Brown, you see, you know, the Danny Greens and the Aaron Gordons and, you know, LeBron James and a couple of those cats all working together to start the momentum now, so that it doesn't go completely into go completely to shit, for lack of a better description. You know, Mike, I don't think people really understand what's happening here.
Mike, so let's tie this to the article with Jaylen Brown, right? And that question that came up in the chat, right? It's almost, it's an imperative, bro. Like, regardless of what happened, say, like in the past with Black Wall Street or what have you, whatever. See, it's imperative today, right now, to do the shit and not to be hung up on what took place back then because of the article you just read. You see. And so that was why when you said, well, what do you think the move for Black men is given this? I'm like, dude, first of all, what we want to do is have the type of companies in place that can leverage the type of money that people like Jaylen Brown and the groups of like ball players and other moneyed individuals that are trying to collectively pool capital. You got to have something for that to go into to make a return. This is how investment works. You know, the question, I guess the second question then becomes, what are we investing in? And I argued anything for IR, you know, is a good bet.
Yeah. To Jay Shine's question in the chat, you can jump on the panel if you want to. Let me just finish going through these items on the agenda. This is from WNCT.com. Greenville entrepreneur explains the importance of Black-owned businesses in the community. The city of Greenville has lots of Black-owned businesses in the community. During Black Business Month, which takes place in August, many of them are being showcased. One African-American entrepreneur, Jermaine Phillips, who is the owner of Upstage Fitness and Nutrition in Greenville, explained why Black businesses in the community are very important. Quote, previously, a lot of people fought us to get to this point. a lot of people fought for us to get to this point, Phillips said. So I think we owe it to those individuals to build on what they started. At one point, we couldn't have businesses. Now that we can have them, I think it's in our responsibility to continue to push and put ourselves in those situations. And like I said, reach down and motivate some younger people. Phillips, a Snow Hill native, added that one of the exciting parts of his business is being a mentor to the youth in the community where he grew up. In the manosphere, they don't want to look out for Black boys.
Hey, Mike, keep the ad on the side, though. Keep the advert on the side.
Oh, crazy. Speaking of the devil, right? No, but he's making the point. It is Black Business Month for August, and there's a lot of things going on, a lot of moves being made where a lot of folks are not taking things seriously. I don't really see anybody in the space really talking about it, but I do think that we're going to highlight it today, though.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, this is from CBS News. Conservative groups are challenging corporate efforts to diversify workforce. Let me zoom in on this. U.S. corporations that vowed to diversify their workforces 3 years ago are now seeing those goals come under fire by conservative legal groups. America First Legal and the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, two right-leaning nonprofits, had filed lawsuits in recent years against employers like Texas A&M University, Target, and Kellogg's, challenging their efforts toward diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. Conservative legal groups have been fighting diversity hiring practices for years, but the U.S. Supreme Court decision in June to strike down affirmative action in college admissions has added fuel to their engine. Lauren Weber, a Wall Street Journal reporter, told CBS News, quote, "The affirmative action case, which you mentioned, addressed higher education. It does not address any of these employment programs, but that may be the next frontier." I think that's partly what these groups are counting on, Weber said. I'm sorry, this ad is killing me. In a more recent DEI legal challenge, America First Legal filed a lawsuit against Nordstrom in June, arguing that the clothing retailer's goal of increasing representation of Black and Latino people in management and manager roles by at least 50% by the end of 2025 is discriminatory because it's race-based. Conservative legal groups are using two federal laws, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Civil Rights Act of 1866, as the main foundation for many of their DEI challenges. Weber said, the use of those laws by conservatives is noteworthy because they were passed decades ago with hopes of expanding employment opportunities for people of color, she said. Quote, "So you see, the same tools that were used to expand opportunity are now being used to challenge these DEI programs," Weber said. "None of the laws have changed here, but I think the question of what are the practical risks with some of the programs has changed. While more lawsuits may lead some employers to ease back on diversity programs," Weber said, "many plan to forge ahead, even if it means a court battle." Quote, "Some companies that are more risk averse may pull back, but many companies we've spoken to said, nope, we are not changing anything. We are committed as ever," she said. "This comes down to a fundamental question of, does equal opportunity exist in the American workplace and in American corporations?" During the pandemic and in the wake of George Floyd's murder in Minnesota, some of the nation's largest companies vowed to increase diversity among their corporate ranks. But Best Buy, Starbucks, for example, aspire to fill a third of their corporate jobs with people of color by 2025. Adidas, Facebook, Google, Wells Fargo, and Microsoft had similar goals. Under the Trump administration, the U.S. Department of Labor challenged those hiring goals in 2020, arguing that basing hiring targets largely on race was discriminatory. Black men better figure it out that we're in the end game right now. The very little that we have, they're coming after in corporate America, and if you're trying to start a business. Now it's coming down to punches, because it's one thing that they can go after corporate America, but what happens when you try to start a business and you're only getting less than 1% of venture capital?
Yeah, you're hitting the startup.
Complex Design wants to launch a new scooter, innovative, and compete in the global market. Somebody's going to come in there and cut that down and say, nah, I don't think he should be getting that.
Yeah.
And they sue him and his corporation and whoever funded him. So what's going to happen is the VC is going to pull back and say, oh, well, I mean, maybe I may not want to fund Pacific Rides or name your brand. Maybe I may not want to do that, which stops the micromobility business from growing, because a lot of that would be beneficial to Black people in their communities, because most Black people live in zip codes and cities where they only need to go 1, 2, 3, or 4 miles.
Yes.
Walking.
Who's that done by?
So now a multi-billion-dollar industry that was emerging that could have allowed more inclusivity for Black people and Black men more in particular, and people like Complex to compete. Now you got folks coming in saying, we're gonna stop that.
Right. And that this is the reason why the last couple of articles that you covered were of the utmost importance. This is all tying in together, y'all. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, a lot of folks thought that they were just coming for Black women. They were just going to come for Black women, and that was it. They're coming for you too. Who else is on the panel? What's going on, bro?
Hey, what's up, Mike? What's
Renaissance
up,
man, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, Ren?
Nah, nothing much. I wanted to add too, with the what you're highlighting there as well. You're having a change in interest rates as well. I was actually talking to a guy yesterday who used to work with Silicon Valley, and he was saying he's already seeing basically companies pulling back on investing. That basically that a lot of these investors, basically with low interest rates, these companies like Uber and Lyft and Facebook, a lot of these companies that don't make a lot of money or took a long time, people have been basically frustrated, and investors are kind of getting burned. So, if you have an environment that's been like that for the last roughly 10, 12 years, where money's been relatively cheap, and you see Black people only getting 2% of VC funding, something like that, it's going to go down even more.
No, less than 1%.
Less than one.
Yeah. So less than 1%. It's that was happening in an era where people were just throwing out pitch decks and getting money, because he was saying he actually was an entrepreneur back in the 90s, and he was basically saying that back in that period in Silicon Valley, it wasn't now how entrepreneur was kind of seen as a status symbol or something that really brag about. It was kind of almost seemed like you couldn't cut it in corporate America. So he was saying people used to not even go and get VC money until the company was profitable, so you could prove it out, versus now you can raise money obviously well before you're profitable, more on the idea. So I think with the way things are shifting, it's only going to get worse. And then you start throwing in these sort of efforts by, I believe his name is Richard Bloomfield or something like that, who's pushing a lot of this stuff. It's only going to get worse.
Hey, Ren, real quick, there was a point that you had literally just made with regard. Oh, okay. That's what I wanted to talk, kind of follow up on, right? This is once again why startup culture is important, and using your own capital and sweat equity to build the value up into your business, right? you're right. It used to be easy. I remember the Web 1.0 days. All you had to do was get into the right.
That's 1, 2, and 2.
Yo, Jay Sean.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, you good. You coming in now, bro. You coming in. All right. Jay Sean was having issues with his mic. So I remember the Web 1.0 days. It was easy to just come up with an idea. Like, dude, I remember a website called diapers.com. I bullshit you not. This was a website that basically sold diapers. And they got like $5 million, dude. Like, it was like 5 or 10 mil in first round capital. Yep. This is when they were just throwing money at whatever would stick when it came to the Web 1.0 and the onset of e-commerce, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I remember how that used to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Complex. I remember one story of like one extreme story to your point. Like there was a company that got like a bunch of VC money. They were saying they threw like a launch party. They had hired a bunch of people and they didn't even have a sale. Like that's how wild it was. Like they did not have a single sale. Like they're throwing these parties, hiring people, because money was just like you said, just being thrown around like crazy to anyone who had any sort of idea.
Look, I can give you one crazy story real quick.
And who was white.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That other part, that part right there. Because look, for my first business back then, I met with a couple of VCs, dude. And you would have thought that a vinyl record retailer online, Rare Records and all that, you would have thought that somebody could get behind that, right? So that was when I learned, first off, put your money where your goddamn mouth is and build your own shit. So that was out the pocket to build that up. Same thing with micromobility, with me and Anti-Grab, out the pocket to build this shit up, because there's a thing when we step up and we're trying to solicit VC capital and shit, right? And you got your business plan and everything, and you got your 6-month, 1 year, 2 year projections and everything that they ask you for. And it's just like, we'll think about it, right? And then somebody could walk in there with just like the bullshit of bullshit ideas, but because their dad is friends with this guy and that guy knows that guy and that guy works here.
Or they just like them. Or they just like them. Like, I mean,
or you just like them. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've heard that you can, within like the first 2 minutes, they can already tell like if they're going to fund you or not. Like all the rest of that stuff, going through metrics, all of that, a lot of that is, I mean, people try to make it a scientific process, but there are people who just like, hey, we like this guy. We feel like
it's that simple. It's that simple sometimes.
Yep.
Hey, real quick. Hey, Jay Sean.
Yes, sir.
Oh man, hey, what's going on, bro?
What's good with y'all, man? What's good with you, Complex? What's good with Mike V? Renaissance, man.
Yo, what you got on it, bro?
Hey, what's good, bro?
No, actually, I was trying to get in early because Mike was making a good point. Like when he was using your business as an example and how, things can get shut down. I was just going to inject real quick and say, I was going to ask Mike, by who, right? And it was being facetious because a lot of brothers don't understand that when you get to the upper levels, when you get in the business world, you're going to run into other groups of men who are working with each other. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of Black men don't understand. I understand the rugged individual part, being a man about your business and handling your own business. But if you're not networked and you don't have some type of code of conduct as far as men operating and understanding you need each other, you're going to run into other groups of men who do have a code. All right. And
Jay Sean,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just to speak to that point real quick, dude, because I want to add on to that, just as personal anecdote, right?
Mm-hmm.
We do have an international business part. We have a couple, actually, right? There is a network. You're absolutely right. That's all.
Yeah. And you have to have that, to sustain yourself, because you're going to run to other groups of men. It doesn't matter if you're good. It doesn't even matter how good your product is. All right. When it boils down to it, at the end of the day, when it comes to business, money, it comes down to gangsterism. All right. And I always say this all the time. Wealth and power is a group phenomenon. There's no such thing as a rich white person or successful white person on the planet that did it by themselves. Doesn't exist. Same thing for Arab men, Asian men, it doesn't matter. So when we go into the business world, it's good to have a good idea. And let's be honest, a lot of us are protected by, the civil society. I'm doing air quotes right now. What I mean by that is that you go to the bank, your money's there, right? You sign contracts. Contracts are honored. What if they say no? We're not going to honor it. What then? Right? What then? Do you have the people in place? Do you have the people in the clerk's office? Do you have the
legal team?
Exactly. Do you have the right lawyers? Do you have to go to another group of men to get the right lawyers? You see what I'm saying? This is how the game goes. Like, say if I need to sue Mike V for something, and Mike V's clicked in with a certain ethnic group and I'm not, right? I need to sue him. I got a good case against him, but I need to go to somebody in his group to get legal representation. You know what they're going to do? They're going to get me to a certain point where we just settle. They're going to make sure that Mike V gets a slap on the wrist. They're not going to let me take Mike V to the cleaners. You understand me? And they're going to come right back to me and sit me down at the table and say, hey, if I was you, my recommendation is you should settle. And
let's do it like this.
This is how it works in the business world.
But Jay Sean, let's do it like this, right? And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna let Mike get. I think this might be one of the last articles we got. But I've been there with that, with a potential lawsuit and shit, right?
Yeah.
See, here's the thing, dude. From a business standpoint, have your shit airtight. Dare a motherfucker to sue you. You think that lawsuit actually happened?
Well,
it was
I'm talking about saying it. Say you the person that has to sue somebody, right? Sue somebody who's stronger than you. You need
been there too.
Exactly. You need proper representation. A lot of us have to go outside of our group in certain cases, right? I'm just pointing out, one area. I know we got black lawyers out there, but just be honest, in certain industries, we got to go outside of our group.
Well, you need to get a lawyer that's specialized in that area specifically, right?
Exactly, and that usually
different specialties.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm just using that dynamic as an example. What I'm talking about. So this is what we got to work towards, where we don't need to go outside our group for everything all the time. You know what I mean? Or especially in certain situations when we talk about money. So I'm just throwing that out there. But we need a strong group of black men to understand that we ain't got to be best friends. We ain't got to know each other, but we got to have understanding that we need each other in the business world.
True. You got it, Mike. Wait, did Mike step away?
All right, let me finish up this.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, let me just finish up these last couple articles here. This is from Morgan Lewis. SBA makes major changes to AA business development program regarding social disadvantage. The U.S. Business Administration, SBA, temporarily suspended new application submissions to its AA business development program, and it will require many existing participants to explain why they qualify for the program after a district judge in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Tennessee held that the SBA's use of rebuttal presumption of social disadvantage for certain minority groups in determining eligibility for the program violated a federal contractor's Fifth Amendment right to equal protection. I'm not going to read this whole thing. It's coming, okay? It's coming. If you thought the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action was where they were going to stop and it wasn't going to impact Black people, especially Black men, because Black people and Black men weren't benefiting from affirmative action, it's coming. All of the language, the legal documentation, the legal language is being rewritten now as we speak to accommodate not serving Black people's interests in the business arena. Okay, it's not just the workplace. It's not just the college campuses. They're coming after any and everything that they can get. Before they'll take away all your SNAP benefits too, because
this is the SBA. Goddamn, Small Business Administration, bro. Small business.
And Jay Shine, I think he's maybe familiar with AA businesses, but in order to get into the military industrial complex, you're going to need the AA.
Yep, and most of these major defense contractors have what they have is mentorship programs, right? Because when they get omnibus contracts, they say the omnibus contract is $8 billion to say Boeing. Boeing has to turn around and give 25% of that to minority contractors. They got a subcontract. right?
Yeah, they do minority supplier development. That's what they call it.
Exactly. So they call them, those are mentorship programs, right? So GD, Boeing, they will go up and gobble up Renaissance Company and say, come on in, we can help you people get security clearances.
Yep.
And bring them in the fold so they can adhere to make that benchmark that's set by Senate, by Congress. All right. But the truth of the matter is they still controlling the game. You know, and what they do is they pit minority companies against each other. And now that minority companies could be women owned, Indian owned, which ain't not damn one Indian to own the company, right? This is always
Give it owned.
Yep, I've seen this with my own eyes. All right. You got female-owned companies and then they turn around and bring in male talent as they need to, and then just give a bunch of jobs to unqualified women. I've seen that. All right. Then you have handicapped people, all kinds of people. And now you got the LGBT situation. And most of these people are white, but they get 88 contracts, and they're not really minorities. You understand me? They just create all the different. This is what Dr. Claude Anderson has been talking about for years.
Yeah. Yep.
Now Roland Martin talks about it as well. He talks about I think he said he was at Texas A&M, and he was talking about how he told the people in the class, like, it was a bunch of white students that were against affirmative action. He was pretty much telling them, hey, okay, if you're against it, like, how many of you all, your mother owns a business? Because they were thinking like, oh, it's just black people benefiting from it. And he was like, nah, like go home and, like, if you want to be against affirmative action, like, go home and tell your
Earn cash back.
Wait, is that ad plan, Mike?
Spend category with the City Custom Cash.
Okay.
Hit the volume button on top.
And oldest trade association.
Nah, I was just saying real quick. He was telling them pretty much like, hey, if you all are against affirmative action, pretty much go home and tell your mothers, like, hey, like, your business is pretty much done, because that's who's really benefiting from this.
Right.
And your fathers too, technically, because they'll just put the daughter and the mother's name on the business, and he'll be running it. They'll be silent partners.
Right. One of the richest black men in the country, brother's name is slipping my mind right now, but he owns a company called Worldwide Technologies.
You're talking about David Stewart.
Thank you.
David Stewart.
Yeah, he one of the richest brothers in the country, because he used the SBA, to the full extent until, he couldn't use it anymore. He abused it, you know what I mean? And that brother was smart to do so, and he did it quietly.
Till the wheels fell off.
Yeah, and I work in the business office now, and we cut contracts all the time. And Worldwide Technologies win a lot of contracts. We do simple supply buys and those contracts, and or when we're doing service contracts, they get a lot of that business from the local contracting offices through the military. So and that's how he's made a lot of his wealth. You get rid of that, the way he got in, there's no one else coming in behind him.
That's an interesting.
That's why they're going after this stuff. They know it's making an impact. Yeah. Like, that's why they're really going after it, is that, especially when you start talking about 20, 30 years from now, and the demographics of the country changing. Like, they know if we have this stuff here, it's the same thing we kind of talking about yesterday on Code Breakers, that, hey, these programs that basically uplifted and created a middle class a generation ago, if that's still here this time around, it's gonna upset the apple cart for people, because it's gonna change the social structure of the country.
Right.
You got it, Mike.
All right. Next item on the docket is from WSFA.com.
For Black businesses is returning home. The National Business League is now setting up shop in Tuskegee. It's working to support Black-owned businesses across the country. WSFA 12 News anchor Rosanna Smith with the story tonight.
1, 2, 3. And with that, the National Business League is returning to its roots. The organization is relocating its national headquarters from Washington, D.C. to the Tuskegee History Center.
We are the legacy.
Founded by Booker T. Washington on August 23, 1900, the National Business League is the first and largest organization for Black businesses in the country. Through programming, they offer initiatives, resources, and services to support entrepreneurs.
Booker T had it right, because we would not be here today celebrating 123 years of legacy on Black business, economic empowerment, and independence.
NBL President Dr. Ken Harris says they are excited to return and immerse themselves back into the community.
The university is central to our core mission, and we have to make sure that our institutions are connected to our organizational institutions, which is critical.
Tuskegee's mayor welcoming the organization to the city.
It's a powerful statement. Yes, sir. Something major was done back then to bring the National Business League together to support African Americans and those who were trying to take care of business. It continues today.
This is our time for the future. This is our opportunity in partnership with the historic Black towns and settlements to rebuild.
The 123rd National Black Business Conference kicked off today in Atlanta. As part of the NBL Founders Day event, attendees were able to participate in today's ribbon cutting, as well as experience the Booker T. Washington Tuskegee Tour. Mark?
That's great news for Tuskegee. Rosanna, thank you. For any businesses who are looking to get connected to that organization, we've placed a link for you inside this story at WSFA.com.
Hashtag Rael was right.
All right.
I'll say it again. Hashtag Rael was right.
I think I know what's happening. And Mike, when you play the video,
I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
It drowns out your mic.
No, it's good now, Mike. I think you're good now.
Yeah, it's supposed to do that. Yeah, it's supposed to do that.
All right. All right. Go ahead, Mike. You got it.
Go ahead and converse. No, I was just going to point out that, Rael has a series on the Black Brain Trust covering Booker T. Washington. Look in the archives. It's there. We've talked about this ad nauseum. I don't see anybody else in the space really talking about it, but Rael has done a fundamental job really covering Booker T and his efforts with the National Business League. But Black people are making moves. Right. A lot of people in this space will say that, no one's doing anything for Black men. No one's doing anything at all. Dems are not doing anything. Somebody's not doing anything for them. Well, you just saw on the screen that things are popping right now. People are taking action where they need to, and they're not going to let a bunch of gray boys come in there and disrupt the business process. That people are fighting back. They moved out of Washington, D.C., moved it to Tuskegee for good planning, good timing too.
And you know something, Mike, that's interesting about what you're showing and what you was talking about earlier about the Supreme Court, overturning, affirmative action and stuff like that. What's crazy? A lot of these, Black conservatives, that, preach a lot of rugged individualism. Conservative policies, Republican policies are actually going to force Black people to work with each other. Again, you're not going to have a choice. You know what I mean? You're not going to have a choice. They pushing you out of Ivy League schools where you're going to have to go to school, back to HBCUs. When they start cutting out these loans and cutting you out of loans and saying these loans and these, things can't be based on race anymore. You know what I mean? They're going to force you to start working with each other. We're going right back to where we used to be under Jim Crow. And the only thing bad about it that I fear is that it might be too late, because we don't, compared to white people, the white society, we don't have the same amount of capital. We just don't. So by the time we get it together, I'm
not even close.
My fear is by the time we get it together as Black people, you know what I mean, we're not gonna be able to catch up because we just don't have enough capital to.
Well, see, and I don't want to derail it because we got another article to cover here, but this is where things like fintech, Mike and I had a long conversation yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. About some of the moves that companies like, there's Klarna and Affirm, Mike? Right. See, so we got to look at alternative access to capital. Right. Mm-hmm. So that was a conversation Mike and I.
Microfinancing. No, continue talking. I'm muting myself because I don't want to talk over you.
Okay. Well, I just had a phone call coming in. So that's sort of like, we're looking at alternative markets because we're looking at an entire global shift. The shift is also happening in the financial markets. Let's make no mistake about it, right? So typically, a train of thought here is that when one door closes, another one opens, right? Mm-hmm. So we're looking at, we're looking at trying to still have the ability to access the traditional capital routes. Meanwhile, we also need to explore the alternative ones. And that was what the conversation yesterday with me and Mike was about. And made a shit ton of sense to me. I'll just tell you. Right?
Yeah.
So we can go into that later.
Yeah. Complex. You guys are pretty much right on it. Because pretty much so for, like how we was able to get some level of civil rights and get some more equal rights in this country. That wasn't all done internally here. One of the big things that really got us to get a lot of that and to move this system here was the fact that we had to go somewhat international, and international pressures helped to bring about many changes that went on here internally here in this country. So I believe from the standpoint of financing as well, since we already see what people, Black conservatives, when they talk about conserve this, these institutions that we look upon from a conservative construct, your ancestral institutions that you have that you want to maintain, those institutions are not here in your favor. They never have been. So you have to pressure those institutions to work for yourself. So getting financing outside of these United States and bringing in, why people were getting so nervous, why when Gaddafi was helping to work with the NOI and giving them $1 billion and these kind of things going on, this started to create problems. The United States wanted to stop that. And certainly, they were able to, but still, we have to really work to get other avenues of financing outside of your institutions here. The conservatives can't deal with the fact that the institutions here are not in your favor. They're not why you can't be a true black conservative here. Maybe in 100 years from now, you may have that. But as of right now, you can't, because the institutions that are here that are ancestral are designed to work against you. They're not in your favor. And we're dealing with this currently right now, right here, that Mike is bringing up, that you're talking about, Complex, everyone else, or that DJ Ryle was bringing up, and others. We're seeing this routinely every day. So going outside of the traditional here, because the traditional is not in your favor, we have to look at alternative forms, and we're going to have to play a far stronger, more international game. That's going to have to include us playing that. You can't sit back and wait and wait for this to happen. You're going to have to organize and be involved with this. And that's the whole issue. That's what these guys don't want to deal with. That's what they don't want to do. They want this to be handed to you. And they're going to hand you something, all right, but it's not going to be what you're actually looking for. So that's the way to pressure this system that we're dealing with. They're becoming more recalcitrant in their positions. So these people who call themselves classic Black conservatives, you don't have them here in this country. They don't exist. They don't exist because your traditional institutions are not here designed to help you. They never have been. And when you came out of slavery, these institutions were not there to aid you. So here we created our own, such as the Black Church and others that have played some key roles in helping us to develop and even help us develop economically. That's where we really have to play a lot of our game. That's why I say a true Black conservative is really more of a Black nationalist in so many ways. And I don't want to get into the whole conservative breakdown because I'll tear you all out the frame on that. I'm talking about the conservatives, of course. But that's our big issue. That's what we have to deal with. So what Mike, Complex, Rael, and then we're talking about in this regard is absolutely what has to happen. And other Black people who are historians and intellectuals have been talking about this for quite a while. And this is where we're at. Du Bois spoke about this as well. So this is something, and when he left us, he was bitterly speaking about it. So we have to really, focus on this, and you have to be prepared to act, to move, and work on this, because that's the only way. That's the only way you're going to get it. Brothers like Jay Shine and them who come here wonderfully and break this down, understand this critically. So I think it's very important that we speak on this here. It's very important that we express this and not get lost. Thank you. So I'm done.
Love you too.
All right, this next item on the docket is from the Boston Globe. This next item on the docket is from BostonGlobe.com. Boston wants to fill empty storefronts. The Wu administration just awarded $2.8 million in grants to help do it. The Wu administration is doling out funds to help 24 companies open up in vacant street level spaces. Demand for esthetician Aku Diabaki's skills was already high when she heard about a new city grant program aimed to filling up empty storefronts. After opening up her salon, Bold Skin Babe, on Newberry Street in 2021, interest among suburban clients prompt her to open a second one in Brockton. Then the Senegal native learned about the city's new space program, or supporting pandemic-affected community enterprises, and decided to apply with an eye toward going downtown. The Wu administration launched the program in November with $9 million from the city's share of American Rescue Plan Act funds. While the space grants can be used anywhere in the city, they are particularly aimed at helping to fill street-level vacancies across downtown Boston, which is struggling to recover from the embrace of remote work during the pandemic. In May, Diabaki learned she would get $100,000, enough for her to commit to a storefront on Tremont Street near City Hall. She said she's not sure she would go downtown without the grant to help with the rent and supply costs. It's a great thing that the City Hall created an initiative to help small businesses and to push them where they could be, said Diabaki, who is finalizing her lease and hopes to open in the fall. That is absolutely a great opportunity. See, this is what I'm talking about, okay? When people want to talk about Dems aren't doing anything and nothing's happening, Black folks aren't benefiting from the Democratic Party, and, Democratic elected officials are just doing nothing. No, that's not true, okay? $2.8 million in grants, $100,000 up front. What are you talking about?
The Wu administration sounds like a fucking rap supergroup.
She's the first Chinese mayor, first female mayor, and first mayor who's bilingual, who can speak Spanish too. She covered all bases, and she's she floats in and out of the Black community like she knows it like the back of her hand. That's why she gets the support that she gets, and why she's doing the things that she's doing. And so a lot of folks don't know that if you don't know who your elected officials are, if you don't know what the issues of the day are on the ballot, you're always going to be left scratching your head on whether or not Dems are doing something, or if anything is being done by any elected official. This is the sort of stuff that Black people need. Access to capital, $100,000 up front for her business. She's just said it. I wouldn't have been able to do this without that.
Man, give me
But you got gray boys walking around. Yeah, you got gray boys walking around suing public agencies, saying, no, you all are discriminating against us. In reality, these folks are the ones being discriminated. I mean, look at the acronym behind the initiative. SPACE, supporting pandemic affected community enterprises. They know how to treat the language. Okay. They know what they're doing. But if you choose to stay home, if you choose to write in Cornel West or Kanye West for that matter,
Cornel Kanye.
You're not something like, yeah. Conyo,
you're not
going to get things like this.
Kanye West, dude.
I Conyo West.
You're not going to get things.
Hey, Conyo.
I Conyo. But anyway.
You're not.
They should
You're
never
not,
give,
you're not going to get
Mike,
things
Mike,
like this.
hold on, Mike. They should never give you Negroes the internet. You know that?
Hey,
Just
dude,
give
too
y'all
late.
backgammon
Too late.
Connect for
Your
Too late.
speeds.
Too late. They gave us Wi-Fi and 5G.
You're walking
also.
around. Yeah, you're walking around with T-shirts that say "Negroes for Trump." You know, this is what you get. So what
And
I'm saying
let me say
here
this real
is
quick.
these are sort of.
Now I was
Yes,
going to
sir.
say real quick, Mike, and you know, and they keep pushing out the Trump or DeSantis, and then you look at laws in Florida that ended direct car sales, right? Except for the people who give them money, like Tesla, like Elon. You know what I mean? So, this is all business. You know what I mean? And if you're not paying attention,
Jay Shine, tell them how much federal dollars Tesla got from the government.
Oh my God.
Break that down very quickly.
800 million.
From
800 million from the government.
From the government or from Nevada? Because he got hit twice. You know, you
we
go to the black tech table and say hit me. He got hit twice. All right.
Yeah, he got $800 million from the federal government.
Yeah, and then what do you get from Nevada?
We don't really have a whole lot of time to be breaking stuff down. We have to go through these.
No. I'm not saying to break it all down.
I just want to just credit the fact that Ngone was talking about how they pull themselves up by the bootstraps. That's all. That's all we're trying to iron out.
Yeah, that's it. That's all. Yeah, man, bring it up. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. You cooking? Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, I wanted to get Renaissance Man in on this. If he's still here.
Yeah. I'm still here. No.
Okay.
It's I appreciate the innovation too. In the sense of like, hey, you got empty storefronts. I know we got a thing with commercial real estate. A lot of people going to be coming up off those leases and not renewing, because I believe it's like every 3 years. So on top of just the grants for the money, I appreciate like the repurposing, because empty storefronts, I'm sure there's a lot of political pressure to do other things with that besides leverage that for women, Black women specifically, own businesses in that regard. So that's the other part that I think that has to be applauded. And this is just the creativity to see that's the opportunity here. And I did, Mike, when you get through, I did drop one link I wanted to share with everybody if you have a chance to run through that in the chat.
Yeah, let me go through these items on the document, and then we'll get into that. All right, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, you're good.
Now, with Xfinity Mobile, we get the fastest mobile service and can get the freshest kicks ASAP.
Switch to Xfinity Mobile and save 45% on your wireless bill over Verizon. From Xfinity.
August is officially Black Business Month, and it's a time to celebrate those smaller businesses and the people who run them each and every day.
This idea dates back to 2004, but many owners hope this month boosts their exposure, so you'll support them year-round. 1011's Kendall Lanier caught up with a few of these owners and shares their stories.
For Mary Ellen's, business is built around family and culture.
Our style is family dinner. I created after Mom. What she cooked for dinner is what you're gonna eat.
Black Business Month highlights smaller businesses across the country owned and run by Black people. Sometimes smaller businesses like Mary Ellen's just don't have the resources to advertise the way larger businesses do.
It's important to just let guys know or let people know that we're here.
Mary Ellen's in South Lincoln started as a food truck. In 2020, they saw an overwhelming support.
People made a point to support Black business.
Since then, support has been up and down.
I don't think that's the case anymore.
While Black-owned businesses appreciate the extra support they receive during months like this, they believe they should have consistent year-round attention just like the other businesses. Sarah Wells owns Sarah's Southern Food Truck and hosts a Black-owned business expo during Black History Month. She says Black people have not always been accepted in the business world.
We didn't have those opportunities, and so even now there are so many obstacles that we do face trying to get the same funding and things like that.
For her, the emphasis on Black businesses during the month is not to take away from others, but to support businesses that aren't always in the spotlight. Lincoln has over a dozen Black businesses that range from hair services to restaurants. There is something for everyone. And with just a little over a week left in Black Business Month, they are here and ready to serve you. Reporting in Lincoln, Kendall Lanier, 1011 Now.
Now, with Xfinity Mobile, we get the fastest mobile service and can get the fresh.
I'm sorry about that. I don't know why Chrome and some of these video services operate this way, but she's really hitting on the same point that we've been talking about. Everybody else has been talking about. The lack of access to capital has kept a lot of Black people out of the capitalist game. And so we have to really take a step back and really rethink about how we engage business. It can't be the same traditional methods that we've used before because it doesn't seem to be working. And when you got the gray boys out here running around trying to tear us out the frame legally by keeping us from getting access to the very little funds that are there, it's not going to get any easier.
Hey, Mike, I have a question for you, right? That video you sent me, it was a firm CEO, okay? So they reported a 26% increase in growth, right? Over, what was it, like the last fiscal quarter or something like that? With that video, where do you think that growth came from?
There's a demand for people to have access to funds to make purchases of products from a consumer standpoint. And so a lot of that could be coming from e-bikes, e-scooters. A lot of that could be coming from just big purchases that they can't really make at the time that it needs to be made. I know a lot of people are thinking about alternative car replacements and things of that nature. And so, that becomes a problem if you don't have the ability to purchase these products. And so a company like Affirm, a company like Klarna, people aren't just buying Jordans and stuff like that. I know some people like to think that, folks are just taking the money and buying Jordans, but that's not necessarily true because people were buying Jordans long before, these financial services, microfinance services came available. People are actually utilizing it to buy really hardware-based products, long-term products, things like e-bikes, e-scooters, different sort of hard products like appliances, refrigerators, things of that nature, things that they could not typically, laptops, tablets, those sort of things. Things that were just out of the reach out of some of these folks, buying power, because I know there's this big, this thing about Black people having this big spending power. Black people have all this spending power, but in reality, that's not necessarily true. Black people just have, access to small consumer items, but not necessarily, the more static and tangible things like micromobility and other forms of transportation and other forms of products and services. They don't have that. Buying some white earbuds is not the same way. It's not the same thing as buying something like microtransportation. So.
Yeah, and see, the reason why I wanted to just kind of bring that up, man, and then you can get into this here, is because, that the reason why is because that is a capital market, not only for consumers, but for businesses also. So there's the B2B aspect of dealing with a financial institution like a firm or a Klarna, right? From a business side, and then there's the consumer side, right? So it's all about access to capital on both sides. That's why I was like, this is where you saw the growth, because businesses can now tap into that capital market to leverage it. And that's where you saw it. And that's why I was just like, all right, well, just, what's your assessment on that 26% jump? Let me tell you something. Number one, it was consumer purchases. And then number two, it was the businesses that served as the supply side, simply put.
And we have to really, like Mayor Wu did, with the American Rescue Plan funds, got to figure out coming up with new vehicles to help grow small Black businesses and allow them to have access to capital. Imagine if those same funds were allocated for cannabis-based businesses that were, minority-based. You would see exponential growth in these markets.
Oh my God, man!
But when you have folks trying to tear you out folks trying to tear you out the frame, legally. Yeah, go ahead.
No, Mike, you hit it right in the head, because I think it was you and I, or myself, and maybe it was RM. We were actually just talking on the phone one time. We were just looking at just looking at angel funding, and just looking at how 90% of that, and we're talking about now for venture capitalist dollars for small business, if you will, was going to white males, and they were only 30% of the population that was out there in this business community looking to get funds. 30% of the population grabbing 90% of the money. 10% of that was being broken up with everyone else, and we were at the 1-2% mark. That's what's really going on. That's what we've got going on, and those are the real numbers.
Before you.
Okay. Before
we
I got
covered
on
that before you came on. It's less than it's less than 1%. It's less than 1% now, and they're trying to take that away from us.
And a quick point to that, real quick, McGone.
So I was going to finish. So they're trying to see to it that you get nothing. They're trying to, and then when we talk about conservatives and all these guys, and they want to preserve these systems that are designed to tear you out the frame, left, right, and center. That's why I look at some of these people who are talking, some of this, who are crazy. You have to look at this whole thing where is the capital? And this stream is very important to talk about alternative forms, but man, you have a lot of opposition to trying to be successful. And now we're not talking about Pookie and Ray Ray. We're talking about your educated, or we're talking about your very productive business person, male or female, makes no difference there. That's how they're trying to tear you out the frame. So I just want to highlight that. But anyway, you guys covered that. It's great. Go ahead, Jay Shine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to add real quick. This is also why I promote, Black people engaging into the full process, not just politics, but being part of your local government, being in these offices, being in federal government. Going back to what we was talking about earlier with Mr. Stewart and worldwide technology, he couldn't get froze out because there's too many Black people in government. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by, when I said this before about Black people really don't have a vertical issue. We never had a vertical issue. Even in slavery, they didn't have a vertical issue. Our problem is horizontal. All right, building out an economy that we can depend on each other, having a base that's horizontal. What I mean is having people like me in the contracting process. You see what I'm saying? I would catch shit like that. If my brother was not getting a fair deal, or if he wasn't getting his fair share of contracts, I would catch it. Because I'm in the government. And guess who else is in the government doing this? I know brothers don't want to hear this, but there's a lot of Black women in government. Right? You know what I mean? So Black people being in government, Black people being in also in these Fortune 500 companies, and then also out here as entrepreneurs. This is a 3-pronged attack that has to take place. It's not just one answer. It's not just about a bunch of Black businesses. It's about a bunch of Black people who help shore those businesses up and protect those businesses, throughout the whole process. When most of the process, you're dealing with government, whether it's state, local, city, or federal.
Absolutely. Let me cover this last piece that's on the docket. This is from AJC.com, how entrepreneurship is getting Atlanta's water boys off the street. Public and private efforts are helping address the root causes of teens selling water. Teen boys are trickling into Glacier's Italian ice in Southwest Atlanta, but they are not coming to buy the cold, sweet treat. They are helping sell it. BJ Sexton, Kingston Montage and Christopher Brown, Rising freshmen and sophomores in high school are learning the ropes of retailing, from counting inventory to planning for upcoming outdoor events. Sexton, 15, used to be a water boy hawking drinks on the street when he was around 12 years old because it was a quick, easy way to get money. But it was dangerous too. And the perils of selling drinks on the high traffic streets of Atlanta, both for the kids and the public, came to a head in the summer of 2020 when disputes got more. A driver was shot and an 18-year-old Jelani Pless was killed over $10. Over the past 3 years, there have also trying to bring in some money. Fulton County Commissioner Khadija Abdul Rahman, whose district includes Glacier's Italian Ice, and said during a visit to the space, can you imagine working in intersection and what you make may keep the lights on? What you make may allow us to have dinner for three or 4 days. This is so poorly written, sorry. Now, 3 years after the initial furor over the water, the kids thrust into the position, initiatives are in place to help them make money in a safe and more productive way. Ian Elmore Moore is the owner and executive director of Glaciers. They're originally from New Jersey. He said kids he grew up with sold frozen treat from push carts in parks. Quote, when I saw what was happening in Atlanta with the Atlanta Water Boys, I said, man, this could be a model that could be if I can employ young people that work these push carts, we not only keep them safe, but we can provide mentoring, tutoring skills, as well as employment. In 2021, he got a cart with 3 fellow Morehouse College alumni and set up at the intersection of Allison Court and DeLoe Drive in Southwest Atlanta. Kids started gravitating towards him and he began mentoring them. He eventually set up a shop near the Dixie Hills neighborhood on Martin Luther King Drive and developed a 2-year entrepreneurship program for the kids. During the first 8 weeks of the first year, from February to April, teens worked on character and leadership development. Then around spring break, they began selling for the first time, and throughout the summer, have a full-time paid internship where they make $10 to $12.50 an hour. During the second year of the program, the kids learn management and become owner-operator of the cart. Elmo Moore takes them to wholesalers and teaches them how to maintain inventory, develop work schedules, and how to manage expenses. In total, there are about 20 kids in the program now. Brown, 14, hopes that being part of the program will let him get enough money to buy my stuff and buy my stuff, and my mama don't have to buy it for me. Glacier serves up more than a dozen flavors, all named after Atlanta neighborhoods, including Adamsville apple, Bankhead blueberry, Ponce pineapple, and West End watermelon. Peach is the best flavor, Sexton said. Montauk and Brown disagree. They are partial to Lenox lemon and Midtown mango. Teens have flocked to Elmore more in different ways. Some walked by his store and were offered a job. Others were recruited by their friends. Some were directed to him by probation officers after run-ins in the law. But no matter how they got into the program, when they are in Glaciers, the vibe is relaxed. Jokes fly, they share social media videos and play chess. Elmo Moore's first cohort of teens started in 2022 and sold Italian ice at events hosted by Mayor Andre Dickens' office and Georgia Tech. They soon branched out to the Beltline and Ponce City Market and local golf courses. For many of the kids, it was the first time in these spaces. That's when it dawned on me about exposure. I knew I was going to mentor them in order for them to work for us. Sorry, and I knew they were going to get paid. But what I didn't know that the cart was going to provide a level of exposure for them. It opens doors that otherwise kind of felt closed. The Glaciers program also revealed other social issues. Elmer Moore said he soon realized some of the kids couldn't read the menu. He had to color code it. Wow, fuck man. But it also led Elmer Moore to launch a school tutoring program. Now students from the Atlanta University Center come to Glaciers after school to tutor the kids, teach them how to play chess, and bring after school speakers. Kesey Venning, co-founder and executive director of the nonprofit Helping Empower Youth, HEY, has been working for years to help Atlanta kids caught in poverty. A Morris Brown College alum, Venning and her HEY co-founder, Mark Cady.
Yeah, I think the internet got him.
A Morris Brown.
What happened? He's gone? He got silent.
Wait, what just happened?
I have no idea. It went silent. Let me check.
Yeah,
Did he jump off the board?
Yeah, I think Mike, I guess his internet, it may have frozen because it took him out of the Zoom as well.
Usually if he's controlling Zoom, it would have shut off the whole broadcast, wouldn't it?
No.
No.
Okay.
Not necessarily,
But yeah, what's good, Jay Sean? What's good, everybody, man?
Yes,
Listen, when they said that Black will be expunged in the next 30-something years, this is how they're going to accomplish it.
Mm-hmm.
When they said 2050, people don't understand how will they accomplish it instead of saying it's going to be no. What steps are they doing systematically? Are they going to do this to Black people permanently?
Well, Chaos Reign, that's been something that honestly, we've been saying this shit since the formation of this channel, right? It's really just a matter of who has ears to hear at this point. That's really what this boils down to. Like what I don't like is this sort of whimsical sort of positioning, mentally speaking, that a lot of Black men exist in. Whereas if you really do have an understanding of how the world works, then you see the shit. And I'm not saying like you see it as in like your fortune telling. No, it's like, okay, you understand technology, you understand the advances in all these things and what these advances lead to in various industries. This is very scientific, it's data driven. That's why we don't really talk, as Mike would say, Illuminati, Bilderbergs. You know what I mean? That's why we don't talk that shit. I'll keep it a buck. You got it, go ahead.
And the bottom line is really, how they're going to accomplish it. Well, if we sit back and we work against that, they can't accomplish it. Okay, that's another.
I agree.
You have to participate in the system to be involved. Most people who were here talking a lot of crapola, they're not participants. They're not going to get involved. They're just going to sit back on the side and wait for somebody to do it for them. That's right. Really what you run into a lot of. But you have brothers here who are working, brothers here in Manosphere, brothers certainly outside of it, who are working with this to bring some better things forward. And that's ultimately what we talk about, being engaged in this from a ground floor level. You have to be. You can't be an outside observer and say, hey, listen, I'm part of this. You really can't, because you have very serious opposition. And some of your opposition are, unfortunately, I put it online, some of them are some bloodthirsty killers. I mean, I hate to say it from that perspective as well. But you have to be prepared to work at this. And I think that's the key thing that we really talk about here on the Brain Trust. And when we hear some of the crazy talk that we listen to from some of these others who are out on the far rights and people who are embracing some of that, this is a kind of voice against it and showing you what really some of the alternatives that we really do have. You don't have to die by their hand. You don't have to. We haven't. This country was designed to destroy us. We weren't even supposed to be citizens of this country.
We weren't supposed to be here at all.
So we weren't supposed to be here. I mean, you weren't supposed to be here. You were not supposed to be a citizen of this country. You were not a citizen of this country. We had to fight for all of that. So I just leave it at that. But anyway, you guys put together a very good live stream. So this is off the chain. So I'm just going to sit back and let you guys continue to participate. I'm just going to sit back and listen more. Go ahead.
Hey, Mike.
Yes, sir. I'm back now.
I see you back. I put a link in the back on Zoom of a really good conversation about Bob Johnson.
All right, let me just finish up with I don't know where I dropped off at. I know what happened, but where did I drop off at? What was the last time you guys see me?
Let's be honest with you, Mike, because I can't see the screen as you go and reading the words. I can't tell you where you left off, so you might have to start from the beginning. Is it a long article or short?
It's fairly long, but I think that I don't know where I left off at. So that's
well, try to start somewhere roughly close to the middle.
Renaissance Man, you were saying something?
No, I was gonna say, I know you talked about, hey, they're trying to get the boys off the street and they partner with the people from Morehouse. I heard that part.
Yep. So I don't want to read the whole thing. I think that this is testament to Black men helping Black boys, in this space. Doesn't really get talked about too much because certain folks don't want to participate in that. And so that's really what I was highlighting, that, Black boys selling ices was a entry into the business entrepreneurship space. And so I thought it was interesting when they talked about the push carts with the selling ices. I thought about Complex and sort of a micromobility aspect to that. How would they actually have a either self-driving cart or a e-cart with accelerated technology behind it that could actually help them get from point A to point B without actually being downtrodden by their own labor. So, but I'm going to pull up Renaissance's last link and then we'll
Oh, real quick, Mike. I wasn't asking you to pull up the link. I was just I sent that back there for you guys to look at. Bob Johnson was talking about all of this, and this is during COVID, when they were doing all the remote interviews and stuff. So he did an interview on the Breakfast Club, and he talked about reparations, but he also mostly honed in on the mentality and the button hook on what Ngone just said. The reason why a lot of this is happening, Ngone, let's just be honest, we're dealing with immature males. There's an immaturity that's part of the psyche, the Black psyche, that we're not really dealing with. All right, because it's obvious what kind of world we live in. It's obvious what kind of people we're dealing with. We know it. This is not something they don't know. Matter of fact, Ngone, you told me that. They know better. They know. All right. So there's a maturity, like they want white daddy to do this for them instead of being in the lead. Being a leader is a mentality that comes with that. You know what I mean? And they don't have that mentality.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is from the NSIN .mil. So Renaissance posted this in the chat. Do you have any
Yeah. So this is I just wanted to highlight this because I know it's not specifically Black business, but I know you made a comment on another stream, Mike, that with all the Black manosphere, or just manosphere in general, all of the veterans, that there's not a a company for the military industrial complex. Well, this is a program I'm actually I'm doing right now. Application is closed for this year, but they do it every year. But basically what this is this will let anybody who applies, they mention an application, they really don't have too much as far as restrictions. It'll really let anybody who is interested. Basically what they will do is you apply, they will give you a list of technologies that are available through their what they call FFRDCs, federally funded research and development. I think I can't remember, it's not community, I can't remember what the C stands for, but basically labs. So this is like your DARPA or, I think like Lincoln Labs up there in MIT. I think that's considered one as well. They basically have technologies as well as university labs. They have technologies that they've developed. And what has happened is they've partnered with these inventors. And what they'll do is you can go through this program as a quote entrepreneur, and they will pair you up with an inventor. And if you can find a market for that technology, that you are able to basically negotiate a license with that technology lab and start a business. And the agreements, from what I understand, have seen so far are pretty reasonable. It's a 2-phase program. Your first phase, you pretty much spend the time learning all the basics of entrepreneurship, doing customer discovery. And then the second phase, if you find a viable market for your product and you want to proceed, you can actually go and they'll give you all of the resources you need to actually create an incorporate a business. So
Renaissance man, that sounds a lot like what they're trying to do at that Booker T conference. When Mike was I asked him about it and he went over what the conference entailed. And I think it was like pairing and matchmaking in terms of professionals, entrepreneurs, right? That's kind of like the same concept.
Yeah, but this is deep tech though. So this is like technology that's sitting in a lab. Either has like commercial or it's technically National Security Innovation Network. So there is a DoD. A lot of it is DoD technology, but you can sell it into. You can focus on DoD or the commercial market. So I just wanted to highlight that, just for everybody on the panel as well as on the stream. That obviously it's closed for this year, but next year. I think they said they had like 100. I think they had like 180 applicants, 200 applicants. And they took about 130 of them. But that's the way I'm going for basically trying to at least start my first business. Is I've got a pretty good group of people that I'm working with on my team, and then the founder is actually he's actually a professor. So very good people you will get paired up with. Very competent people. So I just wanted to highlight that. I know we're talking about Black business. Like I said, it's not specifically for just Black people, but any resources that are out there, I think that Black men should take advantage of. I want to highlight. So
that's dope, man. No, that's dope.
Yeah, and just to highlight how we started off the stream, because Complex brought it up a few seconds ago. The National Black Chamber of Commerce is having the 123rd Annual National Black Business Conference in Atlanta, the 23rd to the 27th. Today is the last day of it. This is what we were covering earlier on the onset, for those who did not catch it initially. 3-day agenda. Pan-African Diaspora Day 2, opening ceremony, Black business panels 1 through 3, and Pan-African Diaspora Luncheon and MBCC 30th anniversary celebration. And then you have the Booker T. Washington Day 3, Black Business Roundup, Buyer, Supplier, Matchmaker, and Expo, Black Business Workshops, 1 through 4, Booker T. Washington Black Business Awards Black Tie Gala. So
I will be there next year.
Yeah. So that's what we kind of set it off with, in case anybody was wondering what Complex was referring to. I know you guys were dialoguing before I came back, but that's all I have on the agenda for today. Anybody have any closing thoughts?
No, man. On my end, Mike, another dope one, bro. You know how we do. And check y'all out on the next one. And shout out to the brothers on the panel, everybody in the chat.
All right, not much, to be honest with you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for letting me come up, man. Good chop up. Always be good to be here with you, Mike V, and Complex and Renaissance and Chaos, and my brother who I have so much reverence for, and the Gone. He know what he did. You know what he did. And you know what he did. But I think that might be a good move, man. Complex jumped off, but going to this conference next year might not be a bad look. I never been to one. You know?
Yeah, I was scheduled to go. I just didn't have the flexibility to go. So
yeah,
not great opportunity. Any conference you can go to is just a network. Like you'll never know who you're bumping into, what they're working on, just like a casual conversation.
And I know we're on a public live stream, but you know, just between us, I'm actually looking at a home right now, homes in the south of Atlanta, McDonough. I'm looking at homes in that area right now. So I think that might be a good look to go back there and like Renaissance just said, just meet people and see what's going on and see what they're talking about and get in where you can fit in.
Yeah, are you looking like move there once you get back stateside?
Yeah, I'm looking out there. Yeah, I'm liking that market. These are towns and counties that are ran by Black people, you know, with nice houses. You know, you would never know by listening to the Manosphere. But anyway,
oh yeah, you're looking at down near South Fulton area and things like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at McDonough, Conyers. You know, I'm looking at those areas.
Yeah,
and these are ran by Black people, and this is suburban America. You know, and they got new development going on. But anyway, that's a whole nother live stream.
So you getting out of the DMV.
Yeah, I mean, they priced me out. I still got a property up in Stafford, man, but you know, I don't see myself going back up there. If I do, it's just to get my high 3, you know.
Yeah.
And but other than that, I'm cool with that. I'm gonna go somewhere else and build up my nest egg. But and I'm blessed, you know, I can make those kind of decisions, you know what I mean? I'm not stuck. I can go where I want. So a lot of my brothers who are in the military, you know, who want to get into the military, that's one of the benefits of having a VA loan. You can kind of set roots where you want. But thanks for letting me come up, Mike. Real good conversation. I know Rael is tickled right now. He's happy as hell because he's a Booker T. Washington fan just like me. And but what was done before can be done again. And we just remember we have the most fluid credit system in the world. You know, so take advantage of the system. Don't be afraid of the system. Stop letting Black women get all the calls. Jump in the game. There's money on the table. Go get what you can get and make the best of it.
Yeah, and Jay Sean, I'll hit you up on the Discord after this.
All right, boss. No problem.
All right.
All right. And I'd like to say, really good stuff here. Mike, listen, thank you for letting me up once again. And you brothers laid it down. Great show. Thanks.
all right, thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button on the way out, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get